We got Matthew Butler here. Matthew, thank you for joining us here on the dark side of BEASTwriter. I just want to gather your thoughts at the mid-season point and what you learned in this growing process in year one.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely the year's not over yet. Still a whole lot more to learn, a lot more room to grow. But just having great coaches and teammates around me has helped me grow into a better player for sure, a smarter player, a more aware player, and just wanting to translate not only just on Sundays but in practice so I can continue to compete.
And Coach talked about today when I asked him about your play as well as Neil Farrell's. We talked about some of the things that you needed to work on, but he said the game kind of slowed down to you when going over practice and grading practice and also on game days. Is that something that you also see in your game, is that you're not reading as much as you are reacting?
Yeah, so one thing with me and with a lot of players when you're young and you're eager is you want to be almost perfect, but with reps and with teaching and with just correlating what you're being taught to what you're actually doing, you don't really got to think as much. You don't got to think to be perfect. It's just getting closer and closer to perfect with more reps and practice.
And one thing that I've noticed throughout training camp and even throughout the season is you're sitting next to Cleve Farrell, who's been a really good help for you, and I see you guys talking every time you step foot in the locker room. How much of a big help has Cleve been in your progress?
Yeah, from a football standpoint and a life standpoint, like he's just been like a great big brother to me. Just kind of showing me the ropes, not only like, hey, like these are how these plays are ran, these are how, some details for your technique, but this is what the league is like, and helping my transition be very smooth.
And what was the transition like when you transitioned into the NFL, being drafted by the Vegas Raiders? Were you surprised at all that they drafted you, or is that something that you kind of had an inkling that they were one of the teams that were on your short list?
I wasn't surprised at all. It was my first interview that I ever had during the pre-draft process with the Raiders, and then in addition to that, when I came out here for the East-West Shrine Bowl, and I was looking around while we were driving around looking at stuff and going to the Pro Bowl festivities, I always had like this inkling in my head, like, hey, I could live here for some time, and it ended up coming to fruition. So, that's what's up, obviously. And yeah, like I said, I wasn't surprised. The transition has been pretty seamless. All of my coaches and all of the good people at Tennessee have, in my life experiences and my family has really prepared me for these moments, and I just want to take the most advantage of them.
And also in evaluating game film, who would you say you mold your game after? I know you're your own man, but what are some of the players that you look up to when you kind of evaluate the game film for self-evaluation?
Yeah, like I would look at a lot of Jeff Simmons, Jonathan Allen, Chris Jones, Frank Clark from like an effort standpoint, even though, those are guys in our conference and stuff like that, but they're still really good players. Fletcher Cox, he's been doing it for a while and doing it at such a high level, and guys like that.
How do you feel in general, just to get so much? We have Tashawn Bower joining us today here with the Las Vegas Raiders. Tashawn, thank you so much for joining us, and I just want to gather your thoughts going into the process. You had a really, really strong preseason. What kind of things do you stay mentally prepared knowing that your name could be called up on any given Sunday?
I think it's treating every week like you're about to be called up and like your number's going to be called. You can't take a week off and say, oh, I'm not going to play this week or something like that. It's a professional league.
And what are some of the things that you worked on from the preseason or that the coaching staff says you need to work on to be active on game day?
I think it's just staying consistent and staying ready to go. There's not too many like specific things, but it's just being ready, making sure that I'm ready to play any position across the line or whenever they may need me. Special teams, doesn't matter.
And one of the things that I saw in your game throughout preseason also is the strong get-off. How important is having that strong initial get-off to kind of win at the line of scrimmage early in the down?
It's the most important thing. First thing you got to do is have a great get-off. Otherwise, your chances of getting there are so slim. Ball's out in less than 3 seconds, so every second, every tenth of a second counts.
All right, and I'm going to do a fun little question here, and you tell me the first word that comes to your mind. All right, you ready? If you were to describe your game in one word, what would it be?
Let's see. I would say precise.
Precise. Okay, why?
Because I always try to keep locked in on what my target is. I don't try to get fancy or make a play that's not my role. So when I say I key in on my target or whatever, I'm always keyed in. So I try to be as precise and as often as possible.
All right, that's Tashawn Bower. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.